What if being awake and being asleep are not the only two states available to the human mind? What if, somewhere between ordinary waking consciousness and sleep, there are other states of awareness that can be deliberately entered and explored? A state where the body becomes deeply relaxed while the mind remains alert. Another where awareness seems to extend beyond its usual boundaries. Another where our normal sense of time begins to disappear. And eventually, a state that Robert Monroe believed might take consciousness beyond ordinary physical awareness altogether. He called them focus levels. Focus 10, Focus 12, Focus 15, Focus 21. But what exactly are these levels? Are they measurable stages of consciousness? Meditative states? Products of imagination? Or did Monroe discover something about consciousness that science has yet to fully explain? Robert Monroe and the search for consciousness. Robert Monroe was not originally a neuroscientist, psychologist, or spiritual teacher. His professional background was in broadcasting. His exploration of consciousness developed after experiments involving sound and human awareness, eventually leading to the creation of what became the Monroe Institute. The Institute dates the beginning of Monroe's unusual experiences to the late 1950s, and describes his subsequent work as an attempt to investigate altered states of consciousness systematically. Rather than borrowing terminology from religion or mysticism, Monroe developed his own vocabulary. He called different states of awareness focus levels. The Monroe Institute explains that the numbers were intended as labels for particular states, rather than a conventional spiritual hierarchy. Focus 15, for example, was Monroe's term for a state in which linear time was reportedly no longer experienced normally. So it is important to understand something from the beginning. Focus 12 is not scientifically proven to be two levels of consciousness above Focus 10. The numbers belong to Monroe's map. Think of them as names assigned to locations on a map of subjective experience. And the first major destination is Focus 10. Focus 10. Mind awake, body asleep. The Monroe Institute describes Focus 10 with 4 simple words: mind awake, body asleep. The idea is that the physical body enters a state of profound relaxation while conscious awareness remains present. This may sound extraordinary, but the general experience of remaining mentally aware while the body approaches sleep is not completely foreign. People practicing meditation, deep relaxation, or observing themselves during the transition into sleep can sometimes experience a separation between physical relaxation and continuing mental awareness. What is specifically Monroe's contribution is the classification of this experience as Focus 10 and the development of audio exercises intended to help participants enter it deliberately. The Monroe Institute continues to use Focus 10 in its current meditation programs, and Monroe did not consider Focus 10 the destination. He considered it the beginning. Focus 12, expanded awareness. From Focus 10, Monroe's system moves to Focus 12, which the Monroe Institute calls expanded awareness. This is where the questions become considerably more interesting. If awareness expands, what exactly is expanding? Attention? Imagination? Internal perception? Our awareness of thoughts and sensations that we normally ignore? Or consciousness itself? Within the Monroe framework, practitioners are encouraged to experience awareness as extending beyond its ordinary physical orientation. The Institute continues to describe Focus 12 as a state of expanded awareness within its current programs. But this is where we need to separate experience from explanation. A person can genuinely experience a profound alteration in awareness. That tells us that the experience occurred. It does not automatically tell us what caused it. An unusual experience could potentially be interpreted psychologically, neurologically, spiritually, or metaphysically. And those explanations are not interchangeable. Monroe's interpretation becomes progressively more extraordinary as the focus levels advance. Then comes Focus 15. The Monroe Institute currently describes it as beyond time, while its historical account explains that Monroe used Focus 15 for a state in which linear time was no longer experienced in the usual way. This is perhaps one of the most fascinating focus levels, because our experience of time is already surprisingly flexible. An hour spent waiting can feel extraordinarily long. An hour absorbed in meaningful work can disappear. Dreams can also produce experiences of time that seem radically different from the amount of clock time that has actually passed. So, the idea that subjective time can change is not itself particularly mysterious. The bigger question is what Monroe meant by going beyond time. Was Focus 15 an extreme alteration in the perception of time? Or was Monroe suggesting that consciousness could somehow experience reality independently of ordinary linear time? Those are very different claims. The first concerns subjective experience. The second concerns the nature of reality itself. And that distinction becomes even more important when we reach Focus 21. Focus 21, the bridge. The Monroe Institute now describes Focus 21 as a bridge to other realities. This is where Monroe's model moves furthest away from conventional explanations of meditation and relaxation. Within the Monroe system, Focus 21 represents a threshold between ordinary physical awareness and what practitioners interpret as non-physical forms of experience. Interestingly, historical United States government material concerning the Gateway program also lists these states. One declassified document describes Focus 10 as mind awake, body asleep, Focus 12 as expanded awareness, Focus 15 as no time, and Focus 21 as involving other energy systems. But this requires an important clarification. The existence of a Monroe-related document in the CIA reading room does not mean that the CIA scientifically proved the existence of other dimensions, out-of-body travel, or Monroe's interpretation of consciousness. It establishes that the Gateway material was documented and examined within a government context. That is considerably different from scientific validation, and this distinction is often lost when the Gateway documents are discussed online. What about hemisync? Another major part of Monroe's work involved sound. His approach became strongly associated with hemisync, and the Monroe Institute's current sound system uses techniques that include binaural beats alongside other forms of audio modulation. Binaural beats are a genuine auditory phenomenon. When slightly different tones are presented separately to each ear, the listener can perceive a rhythmic beat corresponding to the difference between the two frequencies. Scientists have investigated whether this phenomenon can influence brain activity, attention, and psychological states. But the scientific evidence is far less dramatic than many online claims suggest. A 2023 systematic review examined 14 studies investigating whether binaural beats reliably cause brain activity to follow or become entrained to the presented frequency. 5 studies produced results supporting the hypothesis, 8 produced contradictory results, and 1 produced mixed findings. The researchers concluded that the overall evidence remained inconsistent and that substantial methodological differences made firm conclusions difficult. Other research has explored possible effects of binaural beats on attention and memory, again suggesting an area worthy of investigation rather than a scientifically settled mechanism capable of producing Monroe's focus levels. This gives us an important distinction. There is scientific research on how sound may influence psychological and neural states. That is not the same thing as scientific confirmation that Focus 21 provides access to another reality. So what did Monroe actually discover? Perhaps this is the wrong question. Maybe the most interesting aspect of Monroe's focus levels is not whether every interpretation attached to them is literally true. Perhaps their significance lies in the attempt to create a vocabulary for experiences that are notoriously difficult to describe. Focus 10 asks, what happens when the body approaches sleep while conscious awareness remains? Focus 12 asks, how far can our subjective sense of awareness expand? Focus 15 asks, how dependent is consciousness on our ordinary perception of time? And Focus 21 asks the most controversial question, Does consciousness extend beyond the boundaries we normally assume? Monroe believed that it did. If you've stayed with us this far, chances are this mind shot gave you something worth thinking about. Tell us what you think in the comments. We would genuinely like to hear your perspective. And if you enjoy exploring the questions people often wonder about but rarely have the time to investigate, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more mind shots. We take the time to research complex and fascinating ideas, then make them clear, accessible, and worth your time. You bring the curiosity, we do the digging. Thank you for staying with us, and we'll see you in the next Mind Shot.